Mikeitz no Yomim. It was after 2 years. Paro begins dreaming. V'nei omed al yor, and he sees himself standing by the Yor, by the Nile. The Medrash at Rashi had cited the pasuk in last week's parsha that because the Yosef had asked of the Saramashkim, he said 2 words: you should remember me and you should mention me. For each of the words, he was punished. He had to stay another year in prison. So therefore, exactly at the end of 2 years, after the time had passed, immediately Paro begins dreaming, because this is the basis for him to be taken out of prison. V'nei omed al yor. No. So Rashi explains. Mikeitz taru misof choloshen kate sofu. Al yor. Now, why is the Nile referred to as the canals? Kosha noros enim kri meorim chutz mi'los. All of the rivers are not referred as yor except for the Nile. Why? Your question. Neishakola oretz asuyim yorim b'dei odom. They have all these irrigation ditches throughout the country. V'nilas ole b'toch mashkosam. The Nile rises, and it actually floods these irrigation ditches. This is how the fields are irrigated. Lefish ein gsham miyordim mitzrayim tadir, because it very rarely rains in Egypt. So the only way the fields are able to be irrigated, instead of they don't actually carry the water over land, but rather when it rises, it floods these irrigation ditches, and that's how the land becomes watered, becomes irrigated. That's why the Nile is referred to as Yor. But it's interesting. I mean, seemingly, we find later that when Yaakov came to Mitzrayim, he gave a bracha to Paro that whenever he goes down to the Nile, it rises. Right? And so it seems to be from here that the Nilos was always called Yor. It's called Yor. So if that, it always rose. So what exactly was the bracha that he had given to Paro? So evidently it's clear that it rose, but it was erratic or seasonal. But Paro, whenever he would go, it would rise regardless. That was the bracha he had given to Paro. So there was guaranteed. So it comes out. It's interesting. So Paro, the way he deified himself is because he believed. There's a pasuk Rashi in Shmos says he referred to the Nilos as if he created the Nilos. He created it. The proof that he believed. He was convinced. Because whenever he would go down to the Nile, to the Nilos, it would rise. So you see, he had full control over it. It was like it was magnetic. So evidently, he's the deity of the what? Of the Nile. He referred to himself as the Nochash HaGodol, the great serpent. He referred to himself, you ever see the insignia they wore? It was like a snake. He referred to him as the serpent of the Nile. That's what he referred to himself. Nochash HaGodol. That's how he referred to himself.
He was not in denial.
Is that a French word? I don't know. Okay. I don't want to get too political. The Rabbeinu Bachya points out the word v'hinei. What does v'hinei mean? V'hinei means behold. It means it was a level of vividness, of clarity, that he actually, when he dreamt this dream, it was like in real life. It wasn't just, you see something from a distance. Because it keeps reiterating, v'hinei, v'hinei, v'hinei. Where do we find it also? No, Moshe. Okay, Alan. You find by the Malachim Olim V'yordim, where it says v'hinei. Also, it was like a vividness. It was a level of experiencing it as if it was right there, as if you were living that experience. So Paro, v'hinei omer al yor, v'hinei minei or, olo sheva poros yifos mara brios bosar. From the Nile, 7 good-looking healthy fleshed cows had come up, and they grazed in the marshes. Rashi, what's Yifos Mare? Simru Lemesova. It's a sign, an indication of the years of plenty. Shabrios Niros Yovozel. What's Yifos Mare? Shein Ayin Brio Tzorb Chaverto. There's no envy. There was such plenty. Therefore, that's the reason they would. The word Yofos means people had a positive eye towards one another. Because there was such plenty, there was no basis to be envious.
But isn't Yifos more for a human being, a description, not for an animal's description?
Again. I mean, the dream has to be interpreted. These are all like symbolisms.
Right.
So what is the symbolism of Yifos Mara, good-looking cows? You say Brios Boser, but he saw they were Yifos Mara. What does that characteristic indicate? That the people will have a positive eye towards one another. Why? Because there'll be such plenty, there'll be such bounty. Gemara says, that by the Imchus Atelechu, quotes the pasuk that there will not be Ayin Hara. There will not be Ayin Hara. What does that mean? That Hashem created a full functional world, health-wise everywhere. The moment you have the evil eye, it actually, even a human being, it's able to penetrate the immune system. It's able to undermine everything. But if you're able to somehow satisfy the eye, that it shouldn't be having negativity to one another, naturally things are out of the ordinary, because nothing tries to undermine it. But you have to have the circumstance. What's the circumstance that people aren't envious of one another, which engenders the evil eye? You have bounty. Everybody has bounty. They have no reason to be envious of one another. I always said that's the reason why in the United States, America had bracha. Why did they have tremendous bracha? Because it was known it was the land of plenty. America was the land of plenty. Everything was here, land of opportunity. So people were so involved, immersed in creating their own successes here, people didn't have time to look at one another. That's the reason. But if you have where everybody's scrounging for the same dollar, you're vying for that same dollar or so, and one gets it and the other one doesn't have it, so then you have envy. And then you have the evil eye. When you have evil eye, then you have problems.
Evil eye emanates from Satan, doesn't it?
Look, I don't study Mer in the Vuchim. Okay, we have less confusion here. Okay. Look, if anything negative stems from the Yetzirah Malchamov, it's all the same thing. It's all that negative force in existence. Otherwise, people would be envious. Bochu Bagam. That's the marsh. V'hine sheva poros achiris olos achreim minei yor. And behold, 7 other cows ascend after them, which means it's immediately after them. Minei yor, from Nile, rose mare, bad looking, v'dakos boser, thin fleshed. V'tamodna aitel haporos al svasyor, and they're standing alongside. They haven't yet devoured them. Rashi, dakos boser, loshen dak. V'tochalna haporos rose hamare, v'dakos haboser. First they stand next to them, then they devour them. So v'tochalna Poros ros hamare v'dakos habos eisheva poros yifos hamare v'abrios. V'ikatz paro awakens. V'tochalno simish they call simchas hasov nishkachas b'meirov. It's not to be believed. They had a level of bounty, as we read later, how Yosef was able to store away the wheat, and yet when the famine came, it's like the plenty never existed. It's to that degree. There was like no trace, other than what they stored away, there was no trace of the of what happened. The Rechaim HaKodesh later explains, why did Yosef have to encourage Paro, to encourage the people, almost to give a dictate, they have to store away their own grain. Because it's almost not to be believed. It could happen. And even it happens. You have what? It's not, there was such a change, it's as if what previously was, never was. No, but I'm just saying, there's always remnants. You have storage. It's not to be believed. But I understand. But this is like different levels. It's such a level of bounty. Even if it gets bad, you don't have to say for rainy day. There's going to be so much left. No.
And also the expression of eating the cows. The cow doesn't eat a cow.
It's devouring. It's devouring.
Devouring.
It's devouring. Of course, we'll see later when Paro said over the dream, it wasn't exactly this way. He said, and when the thin cows ate the healthy flesh cows, it was not noticeable in their innards. See, here it doesn't say that. It says they ate them. Maybe now they looked a little bit fuller, right? More robust. No, later when Paro said it over, it was not noticeable. After they ate him, that means it was totally wiped out. What previously existed, there was no trace or remnant of that. Okay, let's see tomorrow.